Hello, everybody. My name is Rika Levin. I'm the mayor of the Village of Ossining. I'm joined by the village manager, Karen Diatori. Sorry for a couple minutes delay, just a little technical difficulties getting on. I'm also joined by Bob Fritchie, trustee Dana White, trustee, deputy mayor Omar Lopez. And did I miss anybody from the team, folks? Okay. So we are very excited tonight. This is the first of a number of community engagement we will be holding at 6 p.m. on Thursdays through to the middle of the summer, it looks like. 1 hour engagements is our goal. And the reason that we are doing this is because we've had a lot of interest and requests to update the community about the DRI, the DRI investments that the state of New York is collaborating with Ossining to really improve both our infrastructure and quality of life issues that is really designed for the downtown redevelopment in Ossining. I say downtown redevelopment because that's actually what the grants are for. We hope that some of the monies and some of the projects will help the entire community of Ossining and even beyond Ossining. So we're going to do a presentation. I'll make some introductions and then open it up for questions from people from the audience regarding this particular project. Each of the series will have a topic: community center, the waterfront, et cetera, as we go through them, and they're all going to be recorded. So please note that everything is being recorded. It's a beautiful thing because, number one, if you need to leave early, whatever, you could go back and look at the recording. If you want to share it with your friends and neighbors, you'll be able to. But more importantly, people that are busy tonight aren't able to join us. They will have access to the full length of the information on the website, et cetera. And we will also use these meetings for FAQs, for frequently asked questions. Again, this is about engaging the public, but also informational, so that when we see a series of consistent questions, we put them in FAQ, and that helps us keep us engaged with the community about trends, ideas, questions that keep popping up, so that we can immediately answer them, get information from people. And as we go through the series, my expectation is there might be some adjustments. We might decide on different days. We might choose more topics that are of interest. We might get so engaged in one topic that we might have to continue that topic. These are all possibilities. Who knows where the journey will take us? But let's start with the presentation, and then we'll open it up to the community. So I'm going to have Jamie Hoffman bring up the presentation to share with the community. Before I do that, folks, anybody want to add something to my commentary? Okay, I'm sure people will jump in later. Okay, Jamie, you are the driver. You are in the driver's seat. So let us get started. The topic today is really the first in the series. It is where we are and where we are going. Okay, the downtown is the center of Ossining and was a center of Ossining, and through urban renewal in the 1960s and 70s, much of our downtown sort of became, as one of our trustees likes to say, half a downtown, because one half of the street has a lot, the other half sits empty, and we park cars on it. We do have a nice market square, but we are looking through the DRI to reinvest and rebuild the community. Large swaths of areas were demolished, and they were supposed to be rebuilt, and there were good intentions, as there always are, but were not rebuilt. The community looked much different than it does today. So we have had many studies over the past number of years, consultants and residents who continue to ask us to really, in some ways, demand change, but really in another way demand, a restructuring of the downtown to some of which it was historically. Next. I got a little confused by DRI around 5, so let's explain it a little bit. We were part of the 5th round of the New York State DRI process. There were 4 years ahead of us, 4 groups and 4 communities that received generally actually 20 million. We received 10 million, Haverstraw the other 10 million. Approximately 2021, and let me explain that this is not a credit card, nor is it a check that gets delivered to the bank account. It's a grant to start to look at what are the key projects that will make meaningful and material changes in the village. $10 million is the starting point. What happens after that is that the community will also have to add its own funding through other grants and through its own revenue stream to really look to revitalize the downtown. So some of this is money, seed money, and some of it is for material change in larger chunks. We engage a community in a year-long process to develop the strategic plan, investments, recommendation. There were community members involved, et cetera, et cetera. For those that follow us, for those that haven't been following it, there was community engagement from day 1. One could argue from day 0, because it was way before we even got it. Many studies have been done. We get a lot of requests from the community, not that some of the studies that are done should be used and not just collect dust. So we've looked at our own studies that we've done. We've looked at other studies that have been done and the community engagement that's been done over the past number of years, which culminated in receiving the $10 million grant. It is from New York State, just to be clear. This is not Ossining. It is New York State, and it is New York State driven, and our staff and elected officials do work with the state and its representatives to make sure, and its consultants and its staff, to make sure that the money is appropriately used in a timely manner. Next. We were at Market Square during events. That's the pictures. We had a number of meetings with the local planning committee, which included small businesses and individuals and nonprofits, et cetera, et cetera. We had surveys, we had in-person meetings, and it always involved predominantly the residents and business owner feedback. It involved the staff reaching out and the electeds reaching out. There was a proposed slate. The slate that was proposed and reviewed by a committee that met on a regular basis. And these are the projects. I don't really think it's necessary to read every single item. It's right here, but it came to about $28 million. We always knew we had about 10. That wasn't the question. And through lots of communications, engagements, involvement with the community, we came up with X number of projects that really came at about 13 million. And then we moved from there to whittle it down to the final projects. The final project slate came up with 6 projects. So it's about half of what was originally thought of in the prioritization method. The prioritization was also based on what goes with what. So sometimes there might be 2 adjacent projects. If you do one, you could do the next. So there were a number of variables. It isn't just like people's pet projects. No, it was actually designed where things work well together, and you'll see that as we go through these series. So what were some of them? There's back. There are village-sponsored projects, and then there are 2 projects, and they're listed over here. These are the main projects that we'll be discussing, but there are also a couple of projects that are non-village sponsored projects. One is a town project, and it's up to the town from A through Z to shepherd that through. And another one is the Olive Opera House, and that is actually a private entity that has a building in the middle of our village. It is, and so those are the 2 that are outside of the village mainstay. So Spring on Main development is not a DRI project, but DRI funding for the Market Square enhancements and the multimodal transportation hub is dependent and interrelated to the redevelopment of the village-owned surface parking lots that were ruined during urban development that we discussed, and by the post office, and we are looking to redevelop that area. So it's all interrelated, which is why it's in the presentation. In 2022, the village released a request for qualifications for a mixed-use development on this village-owned lots. Again, the lots are right outside of where the post office is on Main Spring, and it is currently just being used for parking. The village board looked at different developers, had conversation, and we believe that Walter, who's also doing the development for affordable housing down at Water Street, along with St. Catherine Group, demonstrated the right commitment and also their history of working with projects and understanding our village and what it takes to build here makes them our developer of choice for this. The non-village, very straightforward. You've got the staging area at the town park, which is by the waterfront, and the Olive Opera House, which you see in this picture, the rendition of what we hope it will look like, and that we hope and expect that it will bring more people that to our community to shop, to frequent our stores and enjoy the community, as well as help with business development. Complementary projects. Some of the words I think are very descriptive. This is one of them. So everything works together. You can't build in Market Square and redo the Opera House and also look at the use for those the land right outside the post office without providing more parking. Without more parking, you can't do those projects. So things are very interrelated. You've got to have roads that work, lights that work, et cetera, et cetera. So complementary projects are. The Five Corner intersection already started. It is very simply in the middle of our village. We need to redo the lights, the crosswalks, the ADA applicability, bump out a little bit so that it's easier to cross, and just create, I think, a more focused and cleaner and more technologically updated lights over there so that people can cross safely. The improvements also look to all of the signaling. For those of you that have tried to cross that intersection, it's a little bit of a challenge. And so that will actually help with walkability and safety. The project is going to, I think, be really important to really pay homage to the historic character of the center of our village, or at least our downtown of our village. Route 9 diet really means that we're reducing some of that road so that cars don't fly by here. But more importantly, this is also was destroyed by urban development. We're going to create more parking. If you go through Tarrytown, you'll see there's more parking. We're going to improve the ability of the stores to really thrive in that area. And we will improve the ability of people who want to use the community center and cross that intersection safely to be able to do that as we go through this state road. Route 9 is a state road. The village does not own it, but it does really divide our village in half. And so that also has created some challenges for us. We also hope that this will improve our ability to allow people not only for walkability, but bikeability as well. Parking, bikeability, walkability, safety. Those are the 4 key elements. Well, the waterfront, what is there to say about a waterfront except that it's just gorgeous? It's one of the reasons some people move here. It's beautiful. It's not huge, but it's beautiful. It's got 2 beautiful parks. It's got some nice dining, a lot of walkability now that didn't have a park, a staging area for the many, many events that we do. And so anything involving the waterfront, I think, is only an upside to this community. So one of the items we want to do is something called streetscaping at Station Plaza, which really boils down to looking at 30 Water Street, where we're going to have all affordable housing, and really looking at the sidewalks at the plaza area, at greening the area, parking, everything that's involved in not just beautifying the area, but making it more usable to people who are coming in as tourists, people that are using parks, people that are walking to train station, people that want to shop down there in the stores, and people who live there. We'll also be working with the local businesses to really take note of the sea level rise, which is being predicted, and we've done a number of studies in that vein as well. Next. 200 Main Street is a beautiful building. I'm glad they took a picture of the inside because most of us have not been on the inside. This building has sat vacant for decades, and we are looking to put it back on the tax rolls. We have been part of bringing it a little bit, up to a standard where someone might want to buy it and do something exciting with it. And so we are actively seeking a buyer for the building and hope to put it back on the tax roll with a for-profit entity. This is the timeline. We're in May. We're doing 8 webinars focusing on the projects. That's where we are today. We're going to be in farmers market. We're going to be there on Saturdays. We'll put it out there on social media, the mayor's message, and in other ways. We're going to be doing walking tours for people that requested, because there's nothing actually like actually walking and seeing the buildings and seeing the areas and really imagining and reimagining the transformation. There is going to be a number of specific in-person engagements. It's a TBD because we need to reach people that we normally aren't able to reach, mostly people who are working, commuters, people who just aren't familiar with what is going on in the village that we would like to engage. We'd like to figure out also how to get more of the newer movers into our community, whether they recently moved up during COVID or whether they are people that have migrated or immigrated into our community and are simply not familiar with the history of our village and this project specifically. And we obviously plan to continue doing a good job with social media in English and Spanish in any way we can so that we can engage people over the next few months. The goal is to use the remainder of 2023 for public engagement. Next. Construction. These are the dates. We don't have actual dates yet. We're working with the states, as I call them, shovel in the ground. Everybody wants to know when everything starts, but there's first planning. It's no different than building a house. You spend a lot of time planning, drawing what it's going to look like, what you're going to do, and then the shovel goes in the ground. And that's where we are in 2023. And we expect shovels in the ground on a couple of projects in 24. What's next? Well, from this is a conversation about public engagement. So we're going to continue with these webinar series. We're going to be in the farmers market, walking tours, in-person session, meaning we'll take people, one-on-one, and we'll put together an FAQ, which we stated earlier. We also have something really cool, which is interactive story map. And I actually like to jump right into that, Jamie. So thanks to Trustee Quesada, who's been talking about story maps that we all think is really great and cool, but the technology is now, I think, available more than before. We have, and thanks to staff, Jamie, Maddie, Karen, and everybody else that worked on it. Some of the simplest things are actually take a lot more work than people realize, but we will now be able to, through the website, is really look specifically at how all of these projects work together. It's always been a problem when in the village we've looked at a project in a silo, and then we found all the other problems that unintentionally it creates. When you look at all of the projects that we want to do, and as you can see, there are many of them, the beauty of it is that we've now connected the projects so people can see how each domino affects the rest of the dominoes. And I think, just as an example, and each project is listed. Jamie, could you just do like a category called recreation?
I don't think I understand.
You could do the website. The way this works is you could do it by category, or you can do, or is this just a?
Do you want to see it? I can open up the page if you'd like.
Yeah.
To see the story map. Okay.
Because with this being recorded, people will actually get a little tutorial right now on how, because I did this the other day and how great this is. Bang, right to story map. And there we are, our beautiful village. It's a lot of pressure, Jamie. Whenever you want to show something, it's like nerve-wracking. I appreciate it.
I didn't bring a mouse home with me, so and my
Oh,
dog's
sorry.
crying
This
behind
was
me.
not
Sorry.
planned, everybody.
Okay, so now this is the recreation, like you were saying, to kick
Right,
back
so
on
this
that.
is an example. You could do it by a category. I want to know about all the recreation and community. I want to look at transportation. So you could do it by category, or you can click onto the red icons and it'll show you that project. So here I decided, hey, I want to see all the recreation and community outcomes. You get the map, you get to see the different projects laid out literally on the streets. And the beauty of this is that we will be updating it. By we, I mean staff. We'll be updating it. So as things happen, we'll probably do it a couple of times a year. And we don't need to do this in real time. It's everything. These are multi-year projects, many of them. It'll give you the pictures. It'll add things on the FAQs if we have to. It'll explain how something started, how something should look, how it will look. If there's an update to the project, it'll update that and say, as of, this week, we now are moving forward to phase 10 or 15 or whatever phase we're going to be in on that particular project. But it allows you to see how it all works together throughout the downtown. Thanks, Jamie. We can go back. I just wanted to show people that this is what it's going to look like and how easy it is to find this. And thank you also to Valerie, who is one of our consultants, who has helped with this as well. Valerie Monastra, sorry. Okay. Very cool. Very exciting stuff, in my opinion. Great. So this, we didn't want to make this all about the presentation, but we did want to show it to everybody. We've covered a lot, I think, this evening, and now we want to really open this up for any questions or comments, and also invite my colleagues on staff and electeds in case I left something off. If something excites you more than other things, let us start, I think, by going right to community members who joined us, and we'll start there.
Would you mind if I stop sharing the screen?
Please.
Okay, because we do have some people that have already raised their hands and put Q&A into the, into the Q&A. Would you like me to read those?
Yes, please.
Okay, the first one is from Bob Schloss, and it said, did anyone anticipate future EV charging stations in downtown? Maybe not put them in during 23, 24, but make sure that the heavy duty underground cables are put in so that when the time comes, this becomes easier to do.
I think thank you, Bob, and hello. Regards to Emily as well. Only you would know about these cables that have to go in the ground. So we're doing two things on not only the projects described, but others. We are looking for more EV stations, and there are separate grants for those. Parking lots will have them, and that will be discussed. The parking lot, the parking garage that we'd like to, the multimodal, I'm not supposed to say parking garage, sorry, is actually designed to have those because it's for also electric bikes, etc. And some of the projects as we go through the series are also being set up for solar panels as well. But again, those will be discussed as we discuss each project. So the quick answer is yes.
Okay, the next one is a comment from Fiona Stovall that says, when will the walking tours be? Please email me the info. I'd love to attend. I think that Kiana, if you subscribe to the mayor's message, you'll definitely be hearing about it, and the web blast. It'll be pushed out very heavily and on social media.
None of it. Yeah, I
And
just want to,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Karen. Sorry about that.
I just want to reference that our dates for the farmer's market and our dates for the walking tours are to be determined, but we will definitely be pushing them out. And if you send your email to us, we will make sure that you're on the list and that you are aware of when they're happening.
And when you say us, could you just share with the audience which email they should be using?
Sure. I think there's a few different emails, but the one that we have in here is going to Jamie, the one on the thing, was it press?
No, it was Webblast. It's WEBBLAST@villageofossining.org, and it gets checked.
Perfect.
That box is checked all day.
Yeah,
right.
and you could also send to bot@villageofossining.org, but I'm trying to keep it to one email, but you're certainly welcome to the others. It'll be in the mayor message, and on the website, it will be, there is a section actually for the DRI, and so that's where it will be as well.
And
Thank
then
you.
the next question is, if you want, I'm sorry, it's another comment from Mr. Schloss, and it says, if you want to encourage a lot more pedestrian traffic and hanging out downtown, did you consider restrooms?
Yes. So in Market Square, in the plan, there is going to be some restrooms planned in. And while not a village project, but a town project in the town park, when they're redoing the stages, also in the plans, moving those restrooms into a more user-friendly area. Not that it's not user-friendly now, it just happens to be sitting right in the middle of everything. And so the answer to that as well is that is being thought about.
Mayor, if you'd like, I can invite the folks from the audience that are in the gallery if they'd like to speak, if they'd like to raise their hand. The system automatically picks up the order in which the people have raised their hands. Did you want to do a time limit or?
Well, how many are there? And there'll be more.
There's
as
no
we-
one with their hand up just yet, but
Okay.
there's about 20 people in the gallery.
All right, I would say that the same way we do in our meetings, that no more than, because it's questions, no more than 3 minutes, please.
Of course, no problem. So if anyone from the audience would like to raise their hand, we will happily bring you over and have you ask your question.
I see another Q&A in there, but go ahead.
There is, sure. No, I'll read that one in the meantime. It says, it's from Dan Ash. For the improvements, for the improvements to the Market Square area, if development is planned for the area currently being used for parking, where are we planning to create additional parking?
Okay, can you speak to that, Karen?
Sure. So one of the projects that we discussed was a multimodal transportational hub, which is really a parking structure. But we're doing it in a way that's forward thinking. So we are looking at creating in the Brandreth lot, which is located behind Open Door and where Main Street Deli is, on the sort of north side of Main Street. We will be putting a structured parking garage there that will have facilities for electric cars, electric vehicles, e-bikes. We're even looking at a e-bike rental kiosk so that there's a park and ride feature so that you can get right on the aqueduct. But there will obviously, the development is contingent on making sure that we can supply parking. Right now, we're looking at additional 240 spaces, which would be incrementally higher, about 100 more spaces than are there currently on the surface parking lots. And the development will also have parking for residents. So resident parking for this development for any residential units will be taken care of on site. The parking that we're building is really for people visiting shops and involved in coming downtown, and we're working on that so that we can keep a vibrant downtown, plenty of parking, plenty of opportunities for people to visit.
Thank you. Are you seeing any other questions?
We just got another one. Give me just a moment. It says, it's another from Mr. Schloss. Did anyone think about providing Wi-Fi services in downtown? Did anyone think about pre-positioning outdoor speakers for downtown that could be used for festival days or when the farmers market happens?
Okay,
Mayor, do you want me to?
I'm gonna let you do the speakers because speakers are a whole thing that gets driven actually by the staff, depending on who's using which facilities. So I'll let you handle that. We'll do the other one later.
So the Wi-Fi and the speakers. So I think this is really great that you're asking this question, but the great thing about this is we're going to start getting all this information. So if we've thought about it, we'll definitely tell you, but a lot of things we haven't thought about yet. So public Wi-Fi is something that comes up all the time, and we're definitely looking at ways to create more opportunities for public Wi-Fi. I believe the town has some projects currently underway, but that was one thing that we identified through the DRI process. It didn't end up getting funded, but we did find that there were opportunities that are probably reasonable and affordable, so we can increase public Wi-Fi. And as far as speakers and things like that, for stage areas and everything else, we're looking at a variety of things, but we're also noting these things down, and all of the information on this and all our other series will be documented along with all our other community outreach. So when we do finalize the plans, we'll be able to say, people really think that we need greater amplification and public Wi-Fi, and this is just another vote for that in our community. So we're definitely going to be keeping track of all this, and that will go into what the final design on all of these projects, all of these things will be considered.
Thank you. I'm going to take a couple of minutes, just pause while people might come on, people might have questions, might be thinking, to invite my colleagues if there's anything that they, not do you have to, but if there's anything you want to add that we may have left off in this first session. Okay. Gonna wait a few minutes. I don't want to skip ahead. It's like a trailer for a movie. I don't want to skip to the next movie. I want to do one movie at a time because we're going to have future sessions with more information as well.
We actually just got 3 more questions.
Great.
The next one, another Bob Schloss question. This is great.
Well, Bob knows his stuff. Bob's an involved community.
I know.
We
Next
love
time,
it.
send us all your questions in advance so we can make sure that we're prepared for some of this. Pros and cons of changes to water fountains.
I don't know the questions because I don't know if we have that many water fountains left.
I don't know that we have any except in the community center.
So, I think that these are things that I know it's becoming quite, a lot of people are looking at not your typical water fountain, which may have some hygiene issues, but the ability to fill up your reusable water bottle. So again, one more idea that we're adding to our list. So whether it's in our public plazas or parks or anywhere that we can start to think about these things and look into the pros and cons of them.
Thank you, Karen. Our next one is from SRI. I'm not trying to pronounce that, but is there outreach to Metro North and work on the waterfront, beautification and access all involve them?
So
I don't know for Metro North for the train, if there's any specific items that they're involved in. I guess we can look at that, but I'm not sure that they are directly involved in these projects.
Jamie, could you just repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Sure. I just need a moment to go in there. It was, is there outreach to Metro North in work on the waterfront? So, and then it says beautification, access, all involved.
Okay. So we do consider Metro North, and we do discuss things with them as we're developing things on the waterfront. In a whole range of things, whether it has to do with structural design on things that may be on their property, or also when we're talking about increasing travel and tourism and promoting events where we may be able to get people coming here on the train. So outreach to, Metro North is a waterfront stakeholder. We involve them in all our discussions on environmental sustainability, and certainly all our discussions on flood mitigation, which we didn't talk about specifically in this presentation. But those are other things we're working on as well. So certainly they are a regular stakeholder and a partner with us, and we would love to, I think outreach to them is a good idea as we look to enhance our areas and also talk about things maybe that we can do with them or that promote public transportation. That's what transit-oriented housing is all about. So we'll look at those different ways, but I think that's an excellent idea to make sure that we're looping them in and connecting the dots where we can.
We do that as a matter of course when different projects are there. When Cornell was doing waterfront studies, they were included as a stakeholder. But I think to the point being made with the DRI, tourism, etc., that's probably important to start talking to them because they've done work, for example, with Cold Spring and Poughkeepsie and Rhinebeck and all sorts of areas. So we want to be involved with them as well. So great, excellent point.
Thank you. The next question is from James Keeley. Will there be an overall design consultant?
We will not be engaging a master designer for all the projects, as some of the projects are within the village's purview, some are not, and some are going to be operating through different funding vehicles. Each project will be, there'll be a design RFP for the village sponsor projects that will solicit design expertise from people who are experienced in whatever project. So, we'll be looking for people with experience in recreational facilities for the community center, similar outdoor design for the Market Square area, understanding of parking garages and things like that. But I think that you raised a really important point. It is very important throughout this process that we demonstrate that these are not isolated projects and one-offs. They have to work well and they have to be integrated. So we'll be working very closely with the developer who's doing the mixed-use development on the lots adjacent to the post office. We'll also be making sure that as we do these projects that there's a lot of connectivity. So while there won't be a master design, there will be a master from a project management standpoint to make sure that we're connecting the dots. And we've already had gone so far as to introduce the developer for the mixed use project to our friends at Open Door, who are working on a major renovation coming up soon, which will be at 2 Church Street on Main Street. We really want to make sure that everything is going on is integrated as fully as possible, that it is designed to feel like there is a master plan. So that is how we are going to do it. And any suggestions on how we can do that better are welcome.
I just want to add that the staff has done an excellent job, and as they bring people on, they sort of get a preview. In fact, Karen and I actually went with a foundation that invests in different nonprofits in Austin. We took them on the tour. We talked about DRI. So every touch point that's available to us, we are talking about all these projects in unison, and we look for people who could work understanding all of the effects, the domino effects of one project has to the other, which is why even here we delineated which are actual straight on DRI, which are adjacent DRI, which are projects that benefit from DRI, but they're not actually DRI projects, because we are trying to look at the whole thing holistically, and everybody we bring on gets that sort of lesson right up front and is educated about the effects everything has on everything else, every project has. And there's going to have to eventually be a sequence. If you do one thing, it affects 2 other things. You want to get the parking done, so you could then do another project, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next question is from Maria Klein, and it says, has there been any thought about public transportation from Market Square to the waterfront?
From Market Square to the waterfront. It's interesting, actually. We've thought a lot over the years, before I went into being a trustee and then a mayor and all of that. There's been talk about trolleys, there's been talk about escalators, there's been talk about vans, buses for seniors, for this, for that, for employees, have employees. So there have been discussions, but what you're asking specific in this, Milu, No, this might be something we need to sort of incorporate into the conversation. Thoughts on
Well,
that?
So recently, when we did our Earth Day Festival, we coordinated with our Parks Department and we did have a bus that went around to make sure that people were able to access the waterfront and very efficiently and sustainably, because we had mass transit in a sense for that. So, and that worked really well. I do think it speaks to a future where we may be able to get trolleys or e-vans or things like that of that nature. It is something we are looking at on a parallel path. And I think it also ties into the work that we're doing with Project Mover, which is a micromobility opportunity that we have now that's also working in tandem with these projects, where we'll be increasing access to e-bikes throughout the community, and those will be available very affordably to people, and along with outreach, education, and safety around charging them. But this is something that comes up, and I think that the beauty of these projects is because they work synergistically. Once you get going, your ability to further connect the dots, to have more opportunities to come your way, do open the doors to so that a trolley or some sort of circuit for Ossining could be something in the near future.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question is from the famous Bob Schloss, and it says, if you believe the projections of hotter weather by 2040, then people will want to refill their water bottles a lot more than they have before over the past 15 years.
Okay.
This is the comment he said. I don't know. What he's
I
looking
couldn't
for.
agree with you more. So the water fountains and
We
the
got it.
refillable stations are on the list.
Yes. I'd like to give the people that are on the attendee list another opportunity to raise their hand or put a comment into or question into the Q&A box.
And feel free, if you think of something or are in conversation with friends, neighbors, colleagues, and you a question comes up that didn't come up tonight, and you're kicking yourself the day after, don't kick yourself. Just send us an email and say, you know, after we concluded, I have some more questions, because the culmination of the questions will actually, I think, are always the most informative. Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else have any concluding questions or comments, folks? All righty. Well, I'm excited for the first session of many, and I hope that we get more engagement as we go through this, and I hope that people are excited, and I hope that we reach out to, frankly, our goal is to reach to as many people as possible so that all the voices are heard. Understanding that, I'm sorry.
Sorry, we just got one more question.
Okay, that's cool.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I
No,
apologize.
you're not interrupting. I just
Okay.
thought that we were finished. I'm not.
I thought you were doing your dance.
Not all night.
Yeah, your dance where your waiting dance. So Annie Gomez wants to know if there's any chance of making the waterfront playground more inclusive.
That's in the town park, closer.
Well, we
to
have two.
Kingston?
We have
Or-
two.
Well, I was just gonna say, which one?
Well, I think the answer for both of these, for both of these parks is within the scope of the funding that we have right now. We do not have funding. Those areas are not included in the scope of the funding that we have right now. The projects are very specific, as detailed in the presentation and in the story map. However, we have done we have done one inclusive playground, and we're looking to do another one. We are funded next year to do an inclusive playground at Nelson Sitting Park.
Right.
So we would love, and I don't want to speak for the town park, which is Lewis Angle Park. Our park, the Village Park, is in Henry Gordine Park. Certainly, if we have the opportunity, as we go forward, as we work on improving our parks, making them inclusive will be a priority. However, I just want to caveat, that is not specific to the projects. It's just not something we can do with the monies we're getting for the projects that we're talking about specifically.
Right.
Okay.
I'm seeing another.
Annie was just confirming that she got that she's looking forward to those conversations. That's all.
Great. Thank you. All right.
Do you want to encourage anyone to send an email to Web Blast or to the BOT?
You can.
And then
do
if we
the
have, if they don't feel
emails.
comfortable asking in this setting.
Yeah, or their friends might have questions, or anybody seeing this might have questions. Yeah, let's repeat it.
Or if there's anyone that has any questions, you can send an email to the entire Village Board of Trustees at bot@villageofossining.org, or you can send it directly to the Web Blast, which will in turn go to all the staff and to the board, which is webblast, WEBBLAST @villageofossining.org. My PSA.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing folks signing up for tours. I'm looking forward to meeting people at Market Square. Many of us are there every Saturday to begin anyway, but in a more organized fashion with our tent up and hearing from people about different aspects, asking questions, putting them up, all of the things that we discussed. And then what's the topic for our next session? When is it? I just want to say that out loud. Just
Our
remind me.
next session, our next transformational Thursday is next Thursday, May 11th at 6 p.m. And the topic is community centered, where we'll
Right.
be talking about our community center. And that really is going to open the door to the renovations that we can potentially fund there. And we really want to hear from people about what they'd like to see within that space and how we can make it a reality.
Right. And for those of you that want to get some more information, last night at our meeting, there was a presentation made by Pat Yost, who chairs the what I lovingly call Parks and Recs. It's the unofficial title, and that is the resident run. I mean, it's a volunteer group of involved residents who sit on a committee, both town, village representatives and outside the town. And they really look at ways to recommend improvements for all of our parks. And part of that, big part of that is a community center. So those are also people that are informing us as to improvements, enhancements, and the most that we can, the biggest bang we can get out of the buck. So I look forward to that conversation as well as sort of the next session. I am going to conclude here unless somebody raises their hand.
Nobody has.
On the panel or on that. I'm not rushing. It's 6:54. We've set it up for an hour. It's fine. Just want people to think, to ask. Don't want anybody to feel rushed. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen and colleagues, staff and electeds, and public, members of the public, I thank everyone for being here. I expect to be hearing lots more questions once we push this out and we move from one session to the next. I look forward to hearing from people and learning what people are interested in with these projects. Mostly I'm interested to start seeing the projects move forward. And I think it's exciting times for the village for the next 2 to 3 years in making a lot of improvements for our residents and businesses. Hope to see you plus many more next week. 6 p.m. All the sessions are at 6 p.m. Have a wonderful evening and have a good night.